Yep, this is how it should work. In our Google Map console, in our, I think when you land on this page, you first go to the overview, and you can just take a look at the enabled APIs. So I think these are all needed, not for the last three. The geocoding, places, and maps JavaScript API, that's the most critical. So today was just enabled geocoding, but then without places, it's still not going to work. So these three are really critical for that. You just have to make sure you're on the right project. This is my personal projects. So yeah, make sure you're on the right projects. If it's not enabled, just go to the API and just do what we did earlier today. You just click on the API we want to enable and just enable it. Looks like this one is already enabled for me. Yep. So essentially, we can just enable as many APIs as we want, because it is restricted by origin as well. So the API key is only supposed to be useful for that very website. So it's not able to be consumed by other websites aside from the one that are in the origins. Which once again, I think we need to make sure that includes all the origins that we have. I remember asking Michaela to do it over a screen share, and this is supposed to be done in credentials. So yep, with credentials, if you go to all API keys, you'll be able to see a couple of API keys. So so for our service, we need at least two keys. We need one without any restriction, which is none here, and another one with HTTP refers, which I believe are set correctly. So just don't remove them, otherwise it's gone. Because the backend need a key which doesn't have restrictions, because the backend is not running a website, so it's running a server. So that cannot be restricted by HTTP. So only this restricted key is only supposed to be used on the front end. So I guess just for the moment, it just seems to me that the backend key is running fine. So just leave it as it is. Just don't touch it. For the one with the HTTP refer restriction, we're just gonna, this is a test one that I made for Integria in my own project. For this one, we just include a bunch of websites. So you can see you need the Apex domain, which is integria.com/*. That will include everything under integria.com. But then for the actual preview site, so it is running in staging-preview-uc at Mediherb, blah blah blah. So that has to be cached with this asterisk.mediherb.com.au/*. So this is why we have to have both, because the bare domain is different from the domain with asterisk. So we just have to have basically, when you have a domain, you just have to have both. Because we have a couple of preview and dev sites. So yeah, I guess with the key restrictions, also you can set up a key restriction here, but I believe it's a bit redundant, because we only enable certain services from the first screen that we were just over. This is the second screen, so you have two layers of restriction. So my feeling toward this is that we don't need another layer of restriction, because it's just quite confusing and just adding complexity, since we don't have access to this map console, it's very hard for us to figure out the actual issue when there is an issue. It's very hard to know which restriction is actually in place. So I guess this key can just call any API, but then that it is limited by the first screen, by the enabled API. So if you don't enable the API, there's no calling that API. So I guess just leave it as not restricted. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So HTTP referrer restriction, and add a bunch of website restrictions, and you'll be able to see this list already in place on your console as well. So these parts are just fine. So just leave it as it is. What we need to take action right now is just to enable one additional API, which is the places, the places, the geocoding, and the maps JavaScript API. Yep, that should be all.